I'm going to show you how to do percentages by following some steps. The first step is going to be to draw a window box. And here is my window box. There it is. And I'm going to write the number 100 inside the box. So I'm going to put it on the upper right corner of the box. There it is. And right above it, I'm going to write the symbol for percentages. There it is. And next to the symbol for percentages, I'm going to write the symbol for money. There it is. Okay, so let me explain what this means. I haven't even started with the problem yet, but this is the step, the first step that you do. Anything on the first column is going to be reserved for money only. And anything on the second column, because the second column has the symbol for percentages, is going to be reserved for percentage quantities only, okay? So now, let's do an example. What is 10% of $50? So let me write down my question. What is 10% of $50? Question. Okay. So I'm looking at the question and I see that $50 represents everything. And 100% is also everything. 100% represents everything. So next to the 100, I'm going to write the number 50. And I'm going to write it in the column reserved for money. So I'm going to write it next to 100 in the column reserved for money. There it is, 50. Okay, now I'm looking at the question again and I see 10%. So 10% is the quantity that refers to percentages. So I'm going to write 10 in the column reserved for percentages. So that's going to be right underneath the number 100. There it is. So now I'm going to write X for the quantity I'm trying to solve for. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cross multiply those numbers and set them equals to each other. Okay? And don't worry if you don't follow me right now, because we're going to do several examples and you're going to get the hang of it. Okay? So right now I'm going to cross multiply 50 times 10. That's what cross multiply means. Equals X times 100. Okay? Now, to get the X by itself, I'm going to divide both sides of the equation by 100. And that's just doing simple arithmetic, okay? So I divide the left side of the equation by 100 and the right side of the equation by 100. And the reason why I'm doing that is so that I can have the X by itself, okay? That's very important. So you can see that the left side of the equation reduces to 5 if you do the math. And the right side of the equation, well, it's just X, because that's what I was trying to do. So we have that X is equals to 5. And 5 what? 5 percentages of $5. So because the X is underneath the, because X is located in the column for money, so is 5 is actually money. So it's X equals to $5, okay? And so that is the answer. What is 10% of $50? The answer is $5, okay? So let's do another example. What is 20% of $80? Okay, so the thing that I got to do now is the first step, which is draw my window box. So here's my window box. And I'm going to write the number 100 in the box. There it is. And right about the number 100, I'm going to write the symbol for percentages. And next to it, I'm going to write the symbol for money or dollars. There it is. Now I'm going to fill the box with the quantities of the question. So I'm looking at my question and I see that $80 represents everything. That is, $80 represents 100. So I'm going to write 80 next to the number 100 and also in the column reserved for money. And now 20% is going to go, the number 20 is going to go in the column reserved for percentages. So the only space available for 20 is in the column reserved for percentages. There it is. Now I'll write X for the unknown that I'm trying to solve. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cross multiply those quantities and set them equals to each other. So I write 80 times 20 equals X times 100. And again, I want the X by itself, so I'm going to divide everything by 100. So I'll divide the left side of the equation by 100 and the right side of the equation by 100. And I reduce the left side of the equation, which is 80 times 20 is 1,600 divided by 100 equals x by itself. So that's 16 equals 2x. So that is the answer. It's x is equals to $16. So 20% of $80 is $16. So let's do another example. Okay, let's do another example. What is 30% of $70? What is 30% of $70? Okay, again, the first step, draw my window box. Inside my window box, write the number 100. Right above the number 100, write the symbol for percentages. Next to the symbol for percentage, write the symbol for money. Okay, I look at my question and I see the number 30%. So 30, the number 30 goes in the column for percentages only. So there it is. And the number $70, which represents everything, goes next to the number 100. And right underneath the number 70, because it's the unknown, we write x. And we cross multiply those quantities inside the window box. So we have 70 times 30 equals x times 100. We want the x by itself. We divide everything by 100. The left side of the equation by 100. The right side of the equation by 100. So we have, if we do the math and simplify the left side of the equation, we get 21 is equals to x. So that means that 30% of $70 is $21. Okay, so we're going to do some more examples where the questions differs a little bit, but the first step stays the same. Okay, if 50% of a number is $20, what is the number? Okay, they're asking for a number. I don't know what the number is, so I'm going to call it x. Okay, so a fraction of that number is $20. So 50% of that number, whatever the number is $20. So that number represents everything, represents 100%. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I draw my window box. And on the upper right corner of the window box, I write 100. And right above it, I write the percentage symbol. And next to it, I write the symbol for money. And I'm going to fill this window box with data from my question. So I look at my question, 50%. So the 50 refers to percentages. So it's going to go in the column reserved for percentages. So it's going to go underneath 100. So I write 50 underneath 100. There it is. Now I look at the number $20. So 20 refers to money. So I'm going to write 100 in the column reserved for money. And it's going to go next to 50 because it corresponds to 50%. So I'm going to write 20 next to 50. And x, which represents everything, as I was saying before, goes next to 100. So now I'm going to cross multiply these numbers and set them equals to each other. So I have x times 50 is equals to 20 times 100. And now I'm going to do simple arithmetic. I'm going to divide everything by 50 to have the x by itself. And that way I can solve for x. So I divide the left side of the equation by 50 and the right side of the equation by 50. And I end up with x by itself equals, if we do the math, we're going to end up with $40. Okay, and so that is the answer. So 50% of $40 is $20. And that makes sense, doesn't it? Because 50% is half. So it's like saying half of $40 is $20. Okay, let's do another example. If 10% of a number is $50, what is the number? Okay, again, they're asking for a number. I don't know what the number is, so I'm going to call it x. But whatever the number is going to represent everything because I'm taking a fraction from that number. And that fraction is 10%. I'm taking a fraction from that number, whatever the number is. Okay, so I draw my window box again. I'll write the 100 in there, the percentage above the 100, and the symbol for money next to it. And now I look at my question and I start using that data from the question to fill in my box. And I see 10% refers to percentages. So it's going to go in the column reserved for percentages, which is right underneath the 100. So I write 10 there. Now I look at $50. 50 refers to money. It's going to go in the column reserved for money. So, and it's going to go next to 10 because it corresponds to 10%. And now X corresponds to 100. Now I'm going to cross multiply the numbers inside the box, and I'm going to set up equals to each other. So I have X times 10 is equals 50 times 100. Now, in this case, I want the X by itself, so I have to get rid of the 10, so I divide everything by 10. So I divide the left side of the equation by 10, and the right side of the equation by 10, and I have X by itself is equals to $500. Okay, so 10% of $500 is $50. Okay, let's do another example. If 25% of a number is $75, what is the number? Again, I'm going to draw my window box. I'm going to write the 100 in there. This is typical, right? Right above it, the symbol for percentages, and next to it, the symbol for money. And now I'm going to look at my question. And I see that 25% is going to go in the column reserved for percentages. So I write 25 underneath the 100. And I see $75. $75 goes in the column reserved for money. And it's going to go next to 25 because it corresponds to 25. So 75 next to 25. And X corresponds to 100. And now I'm going to cross multiply these numbers and set them equals to each other. So I have X times 25 is equals to 75 times 100. I want the X by itself, and the only way I can make it by itself is if I divide it by 25. I have to divide everything by 25, so I divide the left side of the equation by 25 and the right side of the equation by 25, and I end up with X by itself being equals to $300. And so what that's saying is that 25% of $300 is $75. What percentage out of $20 does $5 represent? So first, I'm going to draw my window box. There it is. Now, I look at my question, and I see that I'm given quantities that correspond to money, namely 20 and 5. $20 corresponds to money, and $5 corresponds to money. So they're going to be written down in the column designated for money. Okay? But I'm also noticing that 20 represents 100%. So I'm going to write 20 next to 100. And now, underneath the 20, I'm going to write 5. And now, since I don't know what percentage $5 represent, I'm going to write an X next to 5. Now, I'm going to cross multiply the numbers inside the window box, and I'm going to set them equals to each other, and I'm going to solve for X. So doing simple arithmetic, I have X times 20 is equals to 5 times 100. I want the X by itself, so I divide both sides of the equation by 20. And I get that X is equals to 25. 25 what? 25%, because we're trying to find percentages. So what that means is that $5 represents 25% out of $20. Okay? Now let's look at this question. What percentage out of $30 does $3 represent? So again, I draw my window box, and I know that I'm given the quantities for money. So in this case, $30 represents 100%. So I write 30 next to 100. And underneath $30, I write $3. And $3 corresponds to an unknown, corresponds to X, because we don't know what percentage $3 represent. Okay, so now I cross multiply the numbers inside the window box and I set them equals to each other, and then I solve for X. So I have X times 30 is equals to 3 times 100. I divide both sides of the equation by 30, so I can have the X by itself, and I find out that X is equals to 10%. Okay, let's not forget what we're talking about. So we have percent, so 10%. Now let's look at this final example. What percentage out of $500 does $100 represent? So again, I do the first step, which is sketch my window box. Now, $500 corresponds to 100%. So I write 500 next to 100 in my window box. And underneath the 500, I write 100. And 100 corresponds to some percentage out of 500. So I write an X because I don't know what the percentage is, percentage is. And now I'm going to cross multiply these quantities inside the window box. I'm going to set them equals to each other, and I solve for X. So I'm going to have X times 500 equals 100 times 100. So I divide both sides of the equation by 500, so I can have the X by itself, and I find that X is equals to 20%. So what that means is that $100 corresponds to 20% out of $500.